So what are your earliest memories of Wellington?
Do you want to know what my earliest memories of Wellington are? Coming on the day before everyone else. Right, and I was walking around, and I think I was still with my parents, and there was a guy, the deputy head then, I won't say his name, and my father, he was there when my father was there. My father spotted him and he said, "Stay away from that man." Yeah.
Why?
Because he wasn't very nice.
Oh.
No, I know. He said, "Stay away from that man. I remember him when I was there." And so I did.
Cool.
That was my earliest memory. And I did get in trouble with him at the end.
I suppose sort of pick out a moment from your kind of like your 5 years at Wellington. What is the single kind of highlight? When was the best moment in your sort of school career?
Oh my God. Well, I mean, the first one that came to mind was there was a cross-country run. I think it was in the winter term. Anyway, and I trained really hard and I won it and I got the school record, which is probably gone now. But I was really pleased. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
How much has Wellington changed since you were here?
Unbelievably. I mean, it was a great place when I was here. It's just incredible now. I mean, I think what is quite tangible walking around is there's a sense of sort of community, more of a community and kind of like pastoral care. So it feels like all of you guys are just kind of getting on with it and looking out for each other, which it wasn't that wasn't happening when I was there, but it was probably a bit more segregated, I'd say. You know, and slightly less modern. It feels so much more modern now. And I just love the fact that you guys do so many things. I mean, we would never have done something like this, you know. And I think it's really important because I think it shows what schools should do is show you how many opportunities there are out there. And this is what Wellington seems to do now, yeah.
Do you start singing and performing seriously at Wellington?
No, I did one play, which is Our Country's Good, Timberland Wurtemberg, I think it was, and I played an Irishman and someone came up afterwards and said, "Great Scottish accent," so that wasn't very impressive. And that was it, didn't sing in the choir, didn't do anything, no. So, apart from the house singing competition, that was it, yeah.
What advice would you give to budding musicians at the school?
Well, I think there's lots of things really, but technique is really important. And I think people can forget about technique because it takes a lot of practice. And, you know, you need to practice, whatever, if you're playing an instrument or you're singing, you know, or you're in a choir or anything, you need to practice. And I think the other thing is to find your style. It's not about copying someone else, it's about finding your way of doing something. And really there's no right or wrong. You are who you are, so it's got to be individual to you. You know, no one wants a replica of someone else. You know, more happy with who you are.
And on that point, who would you sort of listening in your formative years, who were the kind of big influences for you? Who did you listen to? Which bands? Which
well,
songs?
It was all, I guess it was, God, it makes me feel old. But bands-wise, it was Nirvana, The Cure, a lot of the stuff my sister was listening to actually, who's 4 years older than me. And then solo singers, people like Terence Trent D'Arby. I was really into the Beatles, Joni Mitchell, Eurythmics, yeah, Joan Armatrading, quite a lot of female singers, yeah.
What process do you go through when you're writing your songs?
Well, I don't play an instrument, despite the fact I'm sitting next to a piano. So I write with people that play instruments. And you can I either start from a lyric or I start from a melody idea. And quite often now I do start from a lyric, and I think I try and nail the chorus lyric. So basically what the story's saying, you know, and then you build around it. Then you say the tale. So if the story is I fell over, then you build the tale around that, you know. It's like the punchline, really. And some songs come in half an hour, and some songs come in literally 2 years. I mean, it can be a very mixed process. And, you know, sometimes it's really painful to get anything out. Sometimes I just know as soon as I wake up what I'm going to do that day. So it's a great It's a great process because it's very freeing, and also there's no audience, so I can just get on with doing whatever I want to do in a room, you know, rather than feeling like I'm in front of people. You can't feel self-conscious when you're songwriting.
With the internet and online piracy and trading songs and sharing files, how much damage do you think that's going to have long term, and indeed how much has it already had on the profitability of the music industry?
Well, that's a great question. Well, a few years ago, it probably damaged profits by about 40%. So I think it's probably gone up now, maybe even to about 60, between 50 and 60. And it's a sort of two-way thing, really, because, you know, file sharing, I mean, you know, to be honest, if I was like younger and didn't have much money, I would share files, you know, because why wouldn't you? In some ways, it does get people to hear a lot more music. And also, you know, the big thing is a lot of new artists and bands can access all that, and they can be seen. I mean, now you find it, you know, people are found all over the place. And I don't think that's anything but a good thing. I mean, even the other day, someone that I'm mentoring, he's done a new video. I mean, he's done the whole video, the whole session himself, just himself. You know, I can never imagine doing that. I think, so despite the losing profits, also another thing is there's a big push towards live gigs now. I mean, more and more gigs are being done, more and more festivals, more and more tours, and that's a great thing. The problem is that the people that can lose out is the sort of bottom end. So conversely, even though if you're starting up you can't get seen, also people that are starting up and they're not don't make much money, if people are taking their songs for free, they really don't make any money, you know. So it is a balance, but you really can't do anything about it. There's no policing really on the internet.
So you've talked about how it's important to be yourself and keep true to yourself. So what do you think about the media and the public's attitude to lesbian and gay musicians?
Well, I think they're much better than they used to be. I mean, you know, it's not, I mean, I notice it even walking around here, you know, there's not such a shock horror of someone wants to sleep with the same sex. You know, I think people are kind of putting it more in a bracket now rather than, you know, as one part of someone's identity, rather than, I guess in the past people have sort of seen it as a bad thing, you know, this sort of scaremongering. I mean, gosh, it's changed so much in 11 years, you know, and I think I was the first singer to come out from the beginning of his profession. I mean, and that was quite a big deal. I mean, now I think, now I know you get women and men who perform and people don't even know about their sexuality, and I think that's can only be a good thing. I think there's a way to go still. You know, you still read, it's tiny little things, language changes. You know, little language like so-and-so admits to being gay. You know, she admits to being gay, and it shouldn't be admits. It should just be they're gay. You know, so there's still a way to go, but it's much better than it used to be, much better.
I mean, as well as that, living in the public eye, and how do you deal with that sort of media surveillance on, you know, just being a professional musician like you are?
Well, it's all right now. I mean, you know, back in the day it was pretty manic. I was just saying this to someone the other day. I mean, it was manic. You know, I got everywhere I went, I got followed. You know, like Paps would sort of drive on the other side of the road, drive on pavements, drive through red lights. Mental. And I suppose it wasn't much fun really, because I did feel very very exposed. And now, thankfully, I mean, like I'd say 5% of my ego would still like to be followed by photographers, but the other 95 is quite content. Because it is kind of weird. I think you can, you know, one can court press, and I mean, really now, you know, I just do my own thing, and it's fine. I go on the tube, I go on the bus. It just doesn't matter. It's how you carry yourself. If you carry yourself, you know, there's another person who's quite famous who I see at my management company, and it's a big arrival when that person turns up. You know, if you just walk in rather than arriving in 3 blacked out cars, no one's going to notice. So I think there is an element of choice. You know, people say I have no control of my life, you know, I'm famous. So it's not a bad gig really, and you can control it if you want to.
So you must have had some amazing experiences in your life, but what do you most want to do that you have not done yet?
Oh gosh, I mean, so many things. You know, the list is endless. There's plays that I want to do. I'd love to do a play called The Dresser, which is a brilliant film with Albert Finney and Tom Courtenay. I'd love to do a musical called Kiss of the Spider Woman. I'd love to just continue exploring pop music and, you know, just finding out what's in me at that particular stage and then putting it on an album. I mean, it just sort of goes on. And also things outside the arts. So, you know, I just want to see the world. Like I'm going whale watching this week. I go to Africa quite a lot. I spend time in Cornwall. You know, it's really important to live life. You can't write about life if you're not really living it. So it's just endless. There's the Northern Lights. I mean, there's just so many amazing things to see in the world, you know.
On a lighter note, what would you say your favourite film first and favourite book are?
Oh, wow. Oh, favourite book's The Hobbit. I've actually just sent it off to a friend of mine's son, who's 9. I just love that book. You know, we'll probably read it every few years. Because it's so magical. And favourite film, oh, that's a hard one, favourite film. That's a really hard one, isn't it? I really like Remains of the Day. I think that's a great film with Emma Thompson and Anthony Hopkins. Yeah.
Favourite holiday destination?
Africa. Anywhere in Africa. I love it.
And how do we end it? Favourite song?
Joan Armatrading, Love and Affection. Yeah, never get bored of it. And the Wellington anthem. Remixed.
Thank you.
Thank you.